So hello there. Welcome to Live with Lynn. I am happy to have you here today. So today I want to talk about when I was a little kid, I wanted to be my family is immigrants, like most of us. Every one of us, unless we're American Indian, we're immigrants, right? If we're in the U.S. But my family, my mother came from England, and my father came from Holland. And they met here in the U.S. because my dad was working with my grandpa up at the University of Utah washing test tubes. He was basically a janitor, washing test tubes. My mother worked in a laundry, pressing clothes. They were working class. This is where I came from, and they were working class in Europe. And so I was born. I came along. My parents were so excited to have me. And I'm first generation American, born in America in my family. And so my parents had big dreams for me. They didn't know anything other than being a janitor and working in a laundry and working hard and, hard life. And so they had big dreams for me. And my whole life I was told, you can be anything you want to be, anything. If you work hard, you can even grow up and be a secretary. And, that was my aspirations. When I was a kid, I was going to be a secretary. I was going to work in an office, and I was going to wear nice clothes and work with a typewriter, right? And that was I heard that my whole life. If I worked really hard, I could be anything I wanted. I could even be a secretary. So college wasn't mentioned. It wasn't something that my family could even conceive of. And so, I worked hard. And, if I look back at my childhood, my parents didn't have a lot of money. My mom didn't drive. She rode a bike everywhere she went. And they didn't have any money. And so if I wanted something, I had to find it myself. I had to find a way to get that money myself. And so I did a lot of things as a kid. And maybe that's what set me up to be an Avon rep. I don't know. Because, as a child, in the back of the comic books, you would see these little things that would say, make extra money, sell seeds. I sold seeds. I went door to door. I think I was probably 7, something like that. I don't know. And I went door to door selling seeds that I got from a comic book. And then there was another time when I would go door to door and I'd be selling greeting cards. I was always doing stuff like that because I needed to make some money if I wanted to do anything, right? I wanted to go to summer camp. My brother and I wanted to go to summer camp. And so we kind of started this little business mowing lawns, and we had a little route, and we would mow people's lawns, and we made money to be able to pay for summer camp. That's the only way we would have got to go. My parents wouldn't have paid for it. So I guess maybe I have that sales in me. I don't know. I do know one thing. I do have that hard work ethic, and I'm not afraid of hard work. It's funny, people talk all the time about how do you get motivated to work and how do you get yourself motivated when you don't feel like it. I very rarely feel that way. I struggle with how people do, but we all are what we are, right? And for me, there's nothing. I don't have to get motivated because I just have all these things. And my husband laughs at me. I have so many things going on in my head that I want to do to build my business. And so he says, "Man, you just aren't happy if you don't have too much on your plate." But I think that comes from my childhood, right? It comes from me having to work hard for what I want. And, I was told my whole life, you could be a secretary. And you know what? I did. I actually went to college. I had a child really young, and I wasn't married. And so I was a single mom, and I didn't have any help with that either. And I went to college, and I tried my best to get through college and have a child. And I didn't even have a car. I mean, my car broke down right about the time I started with college. And so I was taking buses. I made it through 2 years of college. I got an associate degree, but I never made it to my bachelor's, which is what I wanted. And so I never really completed college, but I worked hard, and I got a job as a secretary. And I got in there and realized, what is this? This isn't like a dream job. This isn't, I'm still kind of a glorified, not to knock anybody who's in that job. I was in that job for many years, and they're very important jobs, but they don't pay a lot. You typically don't get a lot of recognition or, satisfaction out of it. You're typing, well, maybe I'm going too far with that. I actually loved being a secretary, but it just, I had bigger aspirations. Maybe that's how I should say it. I just had bigger aspirations. And so I worked my way up. I worked my way from secretary and then up to like office manager and then into another job and got a job for a distributor and worked my way up from a clerk to what they called, I used to work for Butchery Food and Drug, American stores. And I worked as what they called a rebuyer, meaning that I worked as a buyer, but I worked under a buyer and I just repurchased product for stock and then worked my way up to buyer and then ended up at Giordano's and as a buyer and worked there for many years as a buyer and worked my way into developing the marketing department for the company. So I worked my way up, a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. And, you know, that's another thing. I firmly believe that you can do whatever you want. If you're willing to work for it and you're in a job that you don't like, you just need to start taking on more responsibility. Trust me, the company's not going to get upset that you're taking on more responsibility. As long as you're getting your job done, they're going to appreciate that. And that's how you get promoted. That's how you get, you know, kind of like that's how I developed my own department, was that I took on work and showed them that it was necessary that we had a marketing department and ended up bringing a lot of money to the bottom line. But that's how you do it. And that's the same thing. And so being an Avon lady was never on my radar. In fact, back when I started selling Avon, I didn't even use Avon. I had never used Avon products. My mom didn't buy it. So I started selling it to help pay for a square dance website that I was working on. And about a year into it, I'm sure you've heard my story. About a year into it, I figured out what we had in our hands, and Richard and I decided to get serious and see what would happen. And now we're full-time Avon. Check that out. So I never thought I'd be an Avon lady, but I guess I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been somebody that goes after what's the next step? How can I better myself? How can I do more? And so that's what's gotten me where I am today. All the way from you can be a secretary to now I'm an Avon lady. But you know what? I love my life. I can't complain. I love my life. I have an amazing life. I get to live it on my terms. And Richard and I get to do whatever we want. I mean, tomorrow's Saturday, and then Sunday we're leaving for Los Cabos, and life is good. So anyway, thanks for putting up with my ramblings today, and hope you have an awesome weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.